The creatures stare at Malika, hunger and bloodlust displayed readily on their faces. Some nip at her, some lick their lips and grind their teeth. Most just watch, scared off by her guardian. The undead leave a slim berth around the duo. The throng parts, leaving them a slightly less molested path to the excavation. Malika, fearing attack, holds her arms away from the creatures. Her steps are precise, carefully selected. Wide, toothy mouths become wet with saliva at the sight of her. They churn and chew at the thought of devouring all the soft parts of the young woman. She shudders. Their gaze, their smell, their aggressive actions, all make her skin creep and crawl over her bones. At the excavation's edge they stop. Malika leans over, peering down into the vast pit. She groans at the sight of it. Such a massive undertaking, driven by malice and hate. The trees torn from the soil, their roots hacked apart, the remaining limbs vulnerable, seeking new soil to live in. Far below, the being from the sky moves about the base of the pit. She sees it leaning, swaying over the darkened hole in the excavation. She can just see into the darkness there. A small movement captures her attention. She strains her eyes, trying to make sense of the scene. Two tiny human-shaped things scramble about in the gloom, one pulling the other. Suddenly the amorphous beast leaps into the crevasse. "Ezra! Ezra, run!" The young girl yelps. Her words chime in the ears of Muso. His defensive stance is dropped. He turns from guard duty, bloodied face losing the sheen of menace. Malika's undead guard rushes to the edge and spots its prey. The little man's figure entices him. This undead guard starts to whine and pace about. His eyes focus only on the accountant. The predator tenses and readies itself. Its body moves to pounce. Then it's gone. Down the steep gradient, tumbling, falling. The beast steadies itself, finding balance. Then it tumbles again. A ball of mangled flesh overshadowed by the grand surroundings. The body finally comes to rest at the base of the pit. All vitality in it seems to be lost. The fall would injure most animals. This one's body is savaged by its ailments, but the arms shake and move to support the chest. Legs prop up the rest. Muso, broken yet able, sways momentarily, then trots away to the hole. He scans the scene, then hops into the darkness. Malika watches, astonished by her guard's foolhardy actions. It has all happened so suddenly. He moved like an animal hunting. Her stupor is broken by a sharp pain in her thigh. She grunts and kicks out, detaching a small undead from her leg. The lustful hunger, their carnal desire forces them onto the girl. She reacts quickly, recognizing the look of death on their faces, beneath the blood and gore. More and more of the creatures course towards her, all wanting their pound of flesh. She steps back, away from the crowd, waving her arms, shouting, hoping to drive them off. It doesn't work. The girl is leapt on. Undead fall over her. Their cries and hoots chorus together. Malika reels, lashing out at them, punching, ripping at the rotten flesh of their bodies. She falls backward, forcing an attacker from her back. Then she is gone. The world spins, revolving rapidly as she falls. Her body cartwheels, soil and stone jettisoned in her wake. Hunger overrides the creature's sense of self-preservation. They watched their leader descend the walls of the excavation, and now their prey descends too. At first only a few of the desperate beasts step over the edge, their need for meat ever powerful. The meal is tantalizingly close. This leads to more bodies being launched into the pit after the young woman. Soon the walls of the hole are covered in rolling, tumbling undead. Like ants or termites they swarm. Hundreds of torn and bruised creatures stream down into the excavation. Their legs and extremities twist, and in some cases break completely as gravity pulls them into the earth. Some land and bounce in the softer soil, others fall continually until they meet the hard bedrock at the base of the hole. Bones splinter, shards of bright white matter burst through the skin. Malika, somewhat luckily, rolls down the entire slope, her body only ever leaving the floor for milliseconds. She slumps into the loose dirt as her rolling ceases. Dizziness and hunger wrench at her guts. The yearning to vomit fills her mind. Slowly she gathers herself up, glancing behind in fear of further abuse by the undead. Her leaden legs and heavy heart slow all motions. Half crawling, half stumbling to the abyss, she knows the xenomorph is gone. Only the wide imprints from its feet remain. But the fear still grips at her. The smell of burnt metal stings her nose. Yelps and screams come from all sides. At the edge of the abyss she halts and takes in the scene below. The former security guard skulks in the darkness, moving slowly, patiently towards the clay-like creature. The xenomorph has its back to Malika. One of the strange limbs that grow from its body reaches about, fumbling amongst the wreckage of the temple. It searches the stone, raking the ground. The young woman searches too. She strains her eyes. Ezra is down there. But where? The sound of rapid movement is the only clue Malika gets before she is bowled over. The full force of a diving undead attack hits her in the back. She has to splay her arms, reaching out to protect herself from the fall, ready to hit the ground, finding quickly that there was nowhere to place them. She is over the abyss. Her body somersaults, rolling forwards over the hole. Her assailant rolls too, hooting in fear. At this moment, her innate base urges kick in. Malika grabs at anything she can, grasping, missing, then grasping again. Hands grapple with something poking from the edge. She looks up and sees a wide, jagged piece of slate in her hands, its mooring in the soil patently weak, obvious from the movement of the slab under her grip. Her weight draws it from the earth, or more precisely, their combined weight draws it from the earth, for below the young woman, also hanging in the abyss, is the undead attacker, gripping at her ankle with its one good hand. Malika gasps for air, peril evident, shock rushing through her body. Muscles cramp and stomach twists. The thing on her leg cries out with broken vocal cords, calling out for help. Its grip tightens around her extremity. She shakes it, wriggling her leg to dislodge the undead, stamping in midair like some strangely violent dance move. The beast's grip grows tighter. She yelps as it pulls itself up her body. Then the thing bites hard into her heel. Malika screams into the abyss. The undead relaxes its grip and moves its hand up to Malika's thigh. It sinks its fingers into the fleshy area, gaining purchase, gripping hard, then releasing its bite on her heel. The mouth moves up to her calf, and buries its shattered teeth there. This slow climbing process continues, the undead grabbing at her soft skin as a means of lifting itself, then biting into her to secure its position. The young woman twists, screaming, shaking in pain. Above her, scores of the beasts leer down. Malika, terrified by her situation, loses her hold on the slate. Her hands slip, digits bloody and slick. The fingers on her right hand manage to claw into the soil, saving her from the drop. She can feel it crumble and give way. With the free hand she bats at the creature. Fist, elbow, anything she can use. She beats at its face. At this moment the slab of slate leaves its place in the earth. The soil around it gives up its hold on the stone, its footing loosened by the actions of the human and the undead. It rolls onto the pair. Malika cannot grip any longer. She hangs in the air momentarily, then she plummets into the darkness, flailing as she falls to the sparkling floor. The landing is heavy and abrupt, but the luck of the woman remains. Surprise is what opens her eyes. Relief makes her shudder. A slim grin appears on her face, for under her lies the undead creature, the life smashed out of it. Hands shake, fingers tense then relax, the thing's body reacting to its destruction like any other dying thing. Malika, with great effort, stands up. She rubs the bruises on her derriere, but the feeling of imminent danger still rests heavily on her mind. The undead still glare at her from above, and the clay-like beast looms in the dusted air, its back turned to her. All she can perceive is the sound of struggle. With every step, more of the scene becomes apparent. The alien's arms move with great pace. The debris flies from its grip, making a wake of destruction behind it. She creeps nearer and spots Ezra, standing, frozen in place, looking down at the mess of flesh and bone that was the fat man.
"Away! Away from me!"
Witch woman crawls on her stomach, dragging her belly through the dirt to the tree line. Body beaten, limbs crippled, she pulls at the grass, trying to extricate herself from the mass of baying undead. A crowd has detached from the wider group. The others only have interest in Muso and Malika, though this small crowd seem reluctant to make the woman their meal. Not hours before she had been mighty and unstoppable. She had torn limbs and body parts from members of their gruesome gang, and had communed with their undead superior, Muso, making her their leader. These thoughts still echo in their minds, but now she acts like prey. The fear is obvious, the way she tries to escape them, the trembling, the weakness of her movement. They can scent it on her, all signs that they should attack and devour her meaty pieces. Yet they do nothing. They stand by, waiting, not allowing their incessant thoughts of hunger to overwhelm their sensibilities. She acts and smells like dinner. Only this meal may bite back. Old woman checks behind her. She relaxes a little when she sees their tame advances. The witch acts on this small advantage, pulling herself into the forest and its protection. Once there, she crawls into the roots of an ancient tree, like a dog looking for a place to die. Her breath rustles through tattered lungs, the caustic smell of death and effluence rich on her clothes. In this rested state, she finds some peace, although the odour does annoy her. Little fingers reach into the soil and leaf litter around her. Eyes remain closed, clamped shut. Withered hands pick up small stones and random foresty things. They move all over, and then finally into her pocket, pulling a piece of blood-stained glass from its reaches. Now her eyes open, one white and brown as usual, the other one white, brown, and purple with bruising, iris tinted with blood. She gathers her items, a black stone, a twisted orange leaf, red clay beads, and a shard of glass. She places them in her palms. They close, wrapping the items in flesh. Then the witch woman whispers something into the clenched fists. With a quick shake, she casts them down onto the cool earth. The glass falls, landing in the soil like a javelin, its covering of plasma lodged in the ground. The beads stick close together, spinning in the air, then dropping to make a near-perfect circle around the glass. Black stone and orange leaf tangle together, finally coming to rest like a menhire, with bright orange material crowning it. Witch woman reads the signs, this small amount of divination helping her feel in control, bringing with it a surge of power. The elation drains away. The signs are not good. Her face suddenly fearful, eyes blooming with shock. "No, no, no, no," comes the whisper from her mouth. With painful effort she gathers up the pieces, wrapping them in her hands again, and whispering the incantation, before casting the pieces down to the earth a second time. This cannot be." Her items of divination fall into place, landing in identical fashion to the first attempt. The universe is telling her something. It screams at her. The woman finds it hard to agree with these conclusions, but the universe is showing its resolve, blatantly telling her all she needs to know. Whether the woman accepts it or not is her problem. The divine will remain so, whatever the destiny of the witch. It makes little difference to the omnipotent. Shock leaves and a new feeling of apprehension grips her mind. Loud claps of gunfire shake her from the malaise. Then a series of explosions rock the earth, making the orange leaf fall from its place on the black stone. Old woman feels this, and suddenly becomes very animated. Again she pulls her shattered body through the dirt and grass, this time towards the danger, away from the safety of her little bolt hole, seeking the gunfire and a chance at salvation. At the forest's edge she spies him, Captain Ike, fully automatic in hand, firing wildly into the remaining undead. Face set hard in a ferocious scowl, he fires, then pulls a bottle of bourbon from his pack and takes a mouthful gladly. He fires and drinks and fires. Between his legs the bike engine hums. Across its rack lie a few explosive charges. He grabs for one, fumbling and dropping it before gathering it up with speed. The device is set to explode. Captain kisses it softly and launches the device into the crowd. He laughs heartily, releasing another flow of bullets from his rifle. The undead surge at him. A group of them run, galloping, sprinting, lunging. Then the charge explodes. Witch woman had never seen such colours. The twisting fireball grows from bright white to rich orange, then, as it dissipates, a smoky brown. The flash blinds her momentarily. The vision of the undead fiends charging Captain Ike is imprinted in her retina. It subsides slowly, giving way to a new scene. Captain is on his back, dazed and shocked by the explosion. The bike is on its side, wheels still turning. Smoke and ash spiral upwards to the sky. Below that a small crater sizzles, sparking and firing hot coals randomly across the earth. Now she sees what's left of the creatures. There was nothing really. No complete bodies, no recognizable shapes. All that remains are pieces of flesh, joints like hips and shoulders, a rib cage with arm attached, a jaw with a few teeth still embedded, and many other miscellaneous body parts, mostly burnt, some still ablaze. She sees him rise. Captain uses his rifle as a crutch, bringing him back up onto his feet. The bottle he held lies in the grass, losing its liquid to the dry soil. He readies himself, checking the rifle's breeches clear. He slides out the magazine to monitor his ammunition situation. Then he pulls the sight up to his eye and starts to fire at the other undead, all of whom are now fixated on him, the explosion grabbing their collective attention. Yet they see his power and fail to summon up the courage to advance. Captain Ike, with anger and malice, wades through the hip-height grass over to the excavation and the last of these beasts. His rifle tears them asunder, shattering their weak, rotten bodies, rendering them useless as anything other than fertilizer. Some of them get close to the man, pouncing like tigers from the Indian jungle, only to be shot out of the air and left in pieces on the ground. Witch Woman watches in awe as he leans over the edge of the wide pit. The man sets another charge to blow. He shouts something unintelligible before casting it down into the mass of creatures that lines the bottom of the pit. More bursts of fire erupt from his rifle. The man screams at the beasts. Spit flies from his mouth. She feels the next explosion before she sees its might. Sound baffled by the hole, explosion hidden from view. Only the reverberance in the ground is tangible. She stares at the man, his body silhouetted against the rising smoke, a lick of flame escaping from the hole behind him. Then she loses sight. The man steps over the precipice and disappears. His gun can still be heard, though, popping rapidly. Witch Woman, alone again, left by her villagers, abandoned by the undead, lies in the tall grass, her eyes fixed on the huge smoking hole, fingers gripping at the sod with the last of her strength.